Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meet the Leader session. Confirm that you can hear me, please. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this amazing and exciting edition of the Meet the Leader session. This is a series by the Global Shapers community of the World Economic Forum. And this edition is particularly very special because it's a collaboration of all the Niger Delta hubs in Nigeria. I'll begin off with a quote by Helen Keller, which says, "Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so very much." So I want to welcome each and every one of you. I'm elated to be your anchor and moderator for tonight. I am Dean Deborah Ikechukwu, and it's a pleasure to have you here. To get started, it'd be nice to know why we're here and, of course, to know a little about the Global Shapers community in West Africa, the whole world as a whole, and particularly in your community. To help us further on that, to give us insight, would really crave your indulgence to wait as we call on our community champion in the person of Andrew Banigo, who's going to tell us a bit about the Global Shapers community. Before he comes on board, we have a couple of amazing guests. And of course, you must have seen the flyers everywhere on your social media pages. Yes, tonight promises to be very insightful and impactful. So over to you, Andrew Banigo. Please let us know a bit about
Yeah.
the Global Shapers community. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. This is a really historical moment for us all to have this level of collaboration across the community and have two organizations that are known for meaningful impact within the Niger Delta. So, if you want to see impact, if you want to see true solutions, you have to look at the Global Shapers community and you also have to look at PIN Foundation, of which I'm a part of. And I will also take this moment to thank Mr. Sam Daibo and the rest of the PIN team for taking our time to be here because this shows the commitment to the growth of youth. This shows the commitment to be here by this time, to take our time to speak to the youth and share from his wealth of knowledge. So it's great to have you here. So at this moment, I will just go through. So I have a couple of slides that tell you more about the community, but due to time, I'll just cherry pick the most important parts and take you through this presentation. So the first slide goes. Before we talk about the community, we have to talk about the founding body of the community, which is the World Economic Forum. So the World Economic Forum is an international organization for public-private cooperation, which is based in Switzerland. So through engagement through meetings, through projects, through interactions, through insights, through its body of work and research, it tries to make impact. The motto is committed to improving the state of the world. So through initiatives such as the Global Shapers Community and other engagements such as the Davos annual meetings and a series of other impactful engagements, um, the the forum tries to make change through the world. So basically, the forum has the stakeholders from the government leaders, from the public, the business leaders, academia, young people such as us. So based on its foundations of impartiality, integrity, and independence, it becomes that watering hole for great ideas, great collaborations that are channeled towards impact. And one of such solutions and one of such such initiatives as the Global Shapers Community. So, founded in 2011, this is one of the annual meetings that the community has. So, I'll just go into the meat of this. So, founded by Klaus Schwab, who is also the founder of the World Economic Forum in 2011. The Global Shapers Community is a network of young people working together to solve shared local and global challenges through the power of collaboration. So it has this bottom-up approach rather than a top-down approach towards solving issues in the world, global issues, and it believes that rather than the young people being the leaders of tomorrow, we, the young people, are the leaders of today. So that is our mission, which I'll go deeper into in the next slides. So, what's the reach of the Global Shapers community? As at this slide, we were 10,500 global shapers around the world with 3,500 alumni and in 455 hubs around the world in 150 countries and territories. In Nigeria alone, we are 18 hubs now. We have six in the Niger Delta and others around various geopolitical zones in the country. And I'll go deeper into that later. And how do we achieve our mission? So, at the core of the Global Shapers community is the shaper, who is you and I, and every shaper on this hub. And through capacity building, you come together through the first principle of collaboration to form a hub. So, through the hub, strategic, through his strategic recruitment, like-minded youths and youths with potential and action-oriented youths come together to identify problems in their communities and solve them. And through this, they have the impact on the communities through self-organization because we have issues where youth feel powerless, but through the Global Shapers community, through its three pillars of insight, interaction, and impact, such youth are given the tools and the energy and the motivation to make change. And these youths do not just function alone. Through the wider global network of the 508 hubs I spoke about, we share ideas, we collaborate for impact, and in our little way, like little drops in the ocean, we make changes across the world. So, what's the theory of change for the Global Shapers community? So, through, like I said, supporting young people in self-organizing, um, facilitating youth participation through structured engagement and creation of learning spaces and resources. Young people start to acquire knowledge. Young people work with stakeholders. So when you find yourself at the seat of the table, you're not lost. You're not like a deer in headlights. You basically engage interactively and purposefully to make change. And through this, you have improved confidence, you drive change, and the overall impact is helping young people to reach their full potential. They make more decisions because when the youth are at the table and they make decisions that speak to future generations, they are more empowered to be inclusive in the decisions that are made. And this inclusivity leads to better outcomes community wide. So, who are our members? So, you see the shirt, you see the logo. Like, who are global shapers? So, global shapers are people from all walks of life. They are diverse in terms of equity, education, income, and background, and we have so to have the impact and with the spirit of catching them young, global shapers are between the ages of 18 to 27 years old, after which by 30 you become an alumni. So I feel like within this age range, you're still wet clay and you're molded into an impactful, like a force of nature, and you make impact as an alumni. So this is basically the foundation of the recruitment and the strategy of the Global Shapers community. And with the values, so there's a quote that says, skill, knowledge, and intelligence opens the door, but character keeps it open. So basically, the values of the Global Shapers community are passion, integrity, service, cooperation, commitment. So we see cooperation with the six hubs coming together. We see passion with in everything we do. We see commitment we see integrity, and we see shaper, because service, because we are all individuals at various levels of our careers, but we also always have time to give service to the community. So these are our core values. And with our hub model, with each hub, so basically we have hubs that start from the founding curator and maybe two other members. And from there, you start to build your networks, establish governance structures, have shared responsibilities, and start to contribute to the local community and eventually to the global community. So going down the slides, you see more about that. So basically, this is something a bit more internal, but it's like how our hub growth model goes from the hub, when you start from 20 members, and what we see as a hub that has achieved maturity. So from the founding curator to the strong and impactful hub. So I won't go into that because of time, but basically we can have a chat after this call for me to go deeper into that. So how do you create impact? So like I said, we self-organize through communities, through guided and structured interventions, to make changes within our communities. So I talked about guided intervention. So basically, with the Global Shapers community, we usually have key impact areas that are selected due to the constraints that we find across the world and the various challenges. So we have a short form of this, which we call I shape. So the first I is building of inclusive communities, which is all about inclusivity, ensuring like gender equality, inclusion of youth and all, reskilling for the future, like giving giving youth access to skills, improvement of health and well-being. That is one of the keys of human capital development, health, deliverance of basic needs, which is more of a humanitarian angle, protecting the planet, which is the environmental angle of the Global Shapers community. That's why we have this long-lasting partnership with the Climate Reality Corps, and strengthening of civic engagement, through purposeful participation, like of youth in governance and decision making. So how do we join forces? Like I said, we're a global network. It's self-explanatory because we have six hubs, coming together. So this is what we encourage both internally and externally. Like there's an African proverb that says, if you want to walk fast, you walk alone, but if you want to go far, you work with others. And I can see like
Right.
the heights that we've reached, so far, just with this event alone and in other endeavors. So basically, this is what we do at meetings at our various shapes, the annual shapers meetings, the Davos meetings in January, the regional shapes, and we have joint projects. So basically, we've had various projects. We've had Reimagine Society. We've had a lot of close collaborations with the World Economic Forum on various projects which are impactful. And we have our virtual interactions. This is one that's self-explanatory, and through training. So through training, we have a continuous partnership with Accenture that delivers the responsible leadership program. Our leaders go through like a rigorous curriculum on various topics, and we have the Social Enterprise Institute and also the Climate Reality Core. Like through our partnership with the Climate Reality Core, like shapers are exposed to conversations on climate and join the. So these are some of them. I will not expose everything else. What's our code of conduct? So, like I said, we're all about character. So, basically, we collaborate, we behave ethically, we create safe spaces, we are accountable, we are honest, we are respectful, and we properly represent the community. So I feel like whenever you see a shaper, they stand out because we have these codes of conduct that are ingrained in our charter and in the governance documents of each hub. And I just talked about governance. So what's the governance structure? So we have the curatorships, which are the curators, the vice curators, and the outgoing curators that play an advisory role. Then the impact officers, who are more like M&E officers, who are trained to calculate impact. So a lot of times, like in the excitement of making change, sometimes you're not scientific in structuring this change. So we train impact officers, in structuring the impact of self-organized communities. Then we have community champions such as me, like that oversee the regions and report to the HQ, and the advisory council that is more skills and topic based
Mhm.
that guide the whole community. So basically, we also have the top link that links us closer with the World Economic Forum and links us
And
with
also
the other
thank
15,000 shapers, and also ensures that we link closer with the World Economic Forum. So I just went a bit fast because I thought I was getting carried away with the slides. But if you want to learn more about the Global Shapers community, you could just join
thank you.
hop on to
Yeah.
www.globalshapers.org, and also keep an eye out on the recruitment cycles for the local hub near you. So thank you so
Very
much for having me. And thank you so much, Mr. Sam and Ebenezer, for taking our time to
true.
support the youth this evening. And thank
Well,
you for having
thank
me
you,
too.
thank you so very much, their community champion, Mr. Andrew Banigo. Please community hub in your area or in your vicinity, please do well to reach out to us. And you could do well to also just put a comment in the chat, and so people have been given a platform to make their voices heard and to make impact and changes in their community. One key thing that I took to heart from what you said, Mr. Banigo, is that skills and knowledge opens a door very, very much. To take us further, we have an amazing guest. I told us earlier that we have some special guests in our midst that are going to be giving us much more than just words, but we'll be sharing how we can make the Niger Delta a better place. We have no other than the amiable Mr. Sam. He is Sam is the executive director of PIND Foundation. He is a transformational and development leader who has permit me to say that your experience cuts across different hats, from corporate affairs to international development to stakeholders engagement. He has been a part of the forefront of making development and change, not just in the Niger Delta, but also in Nigeria and in extension to the world at large. He has served in different horizons, including that of Chevron Nigeria, and has also been an instrumental part of one of the most salient acts or laws in Nigeria. I'm talking about the Petroleum Industry Act, that's the PIA. Amongst other things, he's a trained mediator. So if there's quarrel, the crisis in the Niger Delta, he is one of the key persons that ensures that peace and stability is restored, enabling you and I to move about, do things, make changes in our own vicinity. He holds several degrees from different institutes of the world. And please, at this juncture, without further ado, and so much accolades to go on with, can we make welcome Mr. Sam Daibo? He's going to be talking to us on the topic peace, purpose, and productivity, reimagining community. Over to you, Mr. Sam.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Just to check, can you hear me?
Good evening, sir. We can hear you clearly.
Okay, good. So, Andrew, please, the next circle of recruitment into Global Shapers, please. I'm using this opportunity to submit my application, right? And I'm giving the rollout of my CV as put out by Deborah. Please, I believe I qualify.
But sir,
Anyway,
you're already an alumni.
no, I don't. I have to be
Become
an active member, not alumni.
alumni, sir.
I have to be an active member. I protect. I don't want to be an alumni. I'm below 30 in my heart. Yeah.
It's nice to know, sir.
Anyway, thank you so much for having me. I think I'm honored to be with you this evening. We're going to be talking about peace, the purpose and productivity, and reimagining community development for Nigeria's next generation, which basically is you. And tonight, our conversation is going to be around that. And how do you, as individuals, how do you, as the next generation, make contributions to community development and national growth and development at the community level? So be with me, ride with me, at least the next few minutes, we'll go through these discussions. Okay. I mean, if you look at this, why does community development matter? You know the statistics. 60% of Nigerians are below the age of 30. Basically, we have a young population. And I believe no matter whether we live in cities or towns, we all come from one community or the other across this country. And you will notice too that communities form the bedrock of national progress. They form the building blocks for national progress. And so what that means is that every solution must start local, and every nation builder starts small. And so wherever you are in just journey of life, recognize that you are from a community, and whatever you do must start from that at that level. Our communities are not just waiting rooms. Let's not see them as waiting rooms. Rather, we should see them as work rooms. Nation building begins when young people like you take ownership of local problems and turn them into opportunities for change. At every turn, there's always that opportunity. And then when we see those challenges or those problems, we see them as problems or do we see them as opportunities. What I'd like to encourage us today is when those things come, let's see them as opportunity to grow, opportunity to shine, and opportunity to solve problems that can improve the community and by extension, the nation. So the question becomes, what's the link between peace, purpose, productivity, and nation building? I'll try to speak to I'll try to speak to each of them as we make progress here. Because one thing you're going to find out is there are different definitions for peace. People give you peace is the absence of peace is not the absence of war. It could also mean justice, the presence of justice and all of that. But peace creates stability for ideas to thrive. And also purpose gives direction to innovation. Purpose also gives meaning to your passion. Productivity translates potential into tangible progress. So what you also find out is with peace, we can grow. With purpose, we can sustain. And with productivity, we can grow. And we put all of this together, grounded in hope, communities definitely will thrive. Please always have that in mind. So the question becomes, what is the role of peace in development? The way I see it, peace is foundational to progress. And peace is more than the absence of violence, it is the presence of justice and opportunity. Young people like you are peace builders, should be. If you're not at this point, I would like to encourage you to take on that banner as a peace champion and a peace builder. Wherever you find yourself, in school, in marketplace, even your own among your friends and peers, be that voice that supports and encourages and actively engages in activities that bring about peace. So in that regard, I'd like to join you to whatever network that promotes peace in your neighborhood or your where you are. Uh, make yourself available for such things. And I'd like to tell you too that every peaceful act, from resolving the local conflict to volunteering, strengthens the foundation of national development. One great place you can learn from youth peace, youth programs or peace building programs is a platform we call the Link, where stories, trainings, and opportunities are shared across the Niger Delta. This is a platform that's operated and sustained by PING. So now we'll talk about peace as a foundation. Let's see how young people across communities are transforming that peace into purposeful action.
I had no prospects, I had no goals. So I just wanted to get done with school, come out and then look for a job, get a job and continue with my life.
It has changed some perceptions that I have concerning, initially before now, I thought conflict was, a bad thing.
Most times we have community workshops with teenagers, we have workshops with stakeholders. So I think it's for me to integrate it in some of our workshops and just speak about it randomly to them.
Every day there is something new to learn, there's a new discovery I'm making. I'm not just a web developer, I'm evolving into a software engineer.
I see myself different now. I think different. I do things differently. I create solutions. I'm creating employment for people. It gave me purpose. My life is beautiful. I'm totally grateful for what Paint has done. I look forward to creating thousands of jobs for young persons. Thank you so much, Paint.
Guess what? These are familiar faces in the Delta. There are people like you and I who have taken upon themselves to make a difference in their own respective communities. So purpose, what is purpose? I would define purpose as one, turning passion into community impact. Other way to define it, I would define it again, would be giving meaning to your passion. And purpose turns talent into service. It's important that we note that every youth can lead change through entrepreneurship, innovation, or advocacy. And it's important that you align your skills with your community's needs, identify what those needs are, and meet them sustainably. That's the way you also achieve purpose in life. In my assessment, also, given my own experience I've seen in life, purpose is not something you find outside your community. It's something you find or you build within it. So just writing a little on that. Productivity, on the other hand, from my purpose is look at it's generating ideas. It's not always economic. It's social. It's creative, and it's of course very collective. What I encourage that as much as possible, if you have something that you do, you want to look for opportunities to collaborate with the purpose of creating impact. No one builds a nation alone. It has to be a collective thing. I think Andrew said it, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, which I believe is what we really want to do, is go with others. Well, I encourage you also to form community teams, partner across hubs, and share resources. A good thing I understand, you have 6 hubs already in the Delta. Make sure that you always have opportunities to collaborate on particular issues or particular problems. So what I have to say on this note, think of your community as your startup. What problem will you solve, and who will you partner with? So just see that as I said, I'm putting that for you as a punchline. Okay. Hope, the engine of nation building. So we talked about peace, we talked about purpose, we talked about productivity. And like I said, when you put all of this together with hope, the community thrives. So what hope in my assessment is not passive, it is persistence in action. So there's supposed to be some action that goes with hope. That's when it becomes active. Otherwise, it becomes an inactive thing and just a wish rather than something that's rather than hope. And in my assessment also, hope drives courage to innovate despite setbacks. Every story in the Niger Delta began with someone who refused to give up. Hope, in my assessment, builds bridges between what is and what can be. And I believe strongly that when youth lead with hope, transformation becomes very, very possible. So the question I ask you is, how can you connect and contribute? So this is not personal. This is a personal request. And personally, you need to ask yourself that question. How do you connect? How do you contribute in your respective communities? And sometimes communities could be a place, or sometimes it can be a group of persons. It could be a community of friends, it can be a community of scholars, it can be a community of volunteers. And so even if you define that as a community, the question is, how do you connect and contribute? So we have some of the platforms that we, as an organization, that we have. I think I mentioned one earlier on the ND Link. I would encourage you to do that, to join that platform. And a lot of information you can get there. It provides an opportunity for discussions too, and knowledge sharing. And we have the Youth Empowerment Pathway Program. This is for skill development, entrepreneurship support, and career pathways. It's for a number of you are in that category. It's important that you join that too. And of course, we have the Peace P4P, which is Peace Network. We have about 12,000 people on that platform. I would encourage you to also join. It's quite productive and useful for everybody, for those who are there. So these, for us, these aren't just programs, they are pathways for community development and growth. They exist to help you turn your ideas, your skills, and your hope into real impact. So I'd like to call to action, call you to action today. A call to action on the youth we need. For me, the future we talk about won't come from above. Be that generation that builds peace instead of conflict. Be that person that serves purpose, not just position. That creates productivity, not dependency. That inspires hope and not despair. I like to take this one more time. I like you as make this personal commitment. For those of us who are on the call tonight, and for those, and you can spread it to among your friends and your community that you're able to reach, that we need to be the youth that builds peace instead of conflict, that serves purpose, not just position, that creates productivity, not dependency, that inspires hope and not despair. On the last note, the future we talk about won't come from above, it will rise from within us. Let's be the youth who prove that hope works. So I'd like to leave this quote with you as I end my discussion with you today. Hope is the quiet decision to build even when nothing seems certain. That is a choice, it's a decision, and a deliberate effort to make things happen, even when everything seems not to work. And a number of us can relate to Nigeria as it is today. Maybe it's not what we seek, things that happen around us, not how we dream of a country. But we have to make that decision. So no matter what we see around us, no matter what the challenges we see around us, we made that quiet decision to build at our community level, at the state level, at the national level. And of course, once we do those ones, chances are that we will impact globally. So I'd like to thank you very much. And I'd like to appeal that let's move forward with peace in our hearts, purpose in our hands, productivity in our minds, and hope in our sights. Together, we can build a Niger Delta and a Nigeria that works for all of us. Once
Yeah.
again, thank you very much for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Sam. I mean, you just reiterated what I discussed with a friend of mine uh, last night. We were talking about what the Niger Delta has become, particularly in Nigeria, and it was heartbreaking. In fact, the person got to the point of saying, some of us are literally losing hope in Nigeria, but here you are sharing with us that hope is the quiet decision we all make to build, even when nothing seems possible. So, to the audience listening to us tonight, please do well to drop your questions on the chat, and we would ask Mr. Sam if you have any. So, would look forward to receiving your questions. Mr. Sam, I understand from your portfolio that you are uh, an experienced mediator. And one of the things that causes conflicts, let's not say war because we've not experienced that in the last few years in Nigeria or even the Niger Delta. One of the things that causes that conflict is when there is miscommunication. Perhaps the young ones are not being heard because whilst growing up, we're told that we are the leaders of tomorrow. And up until now, the leaders we met are still the ones leading, and the tomorrow is not seeming like it's ever happening. So this is my first question to you. What are the ways we can really put into practice this hope, especially when it comes to communicating the needs of the young people or the young generation to the generation in power to ensure that the peace is retained and the message is passed?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I'll probably approach it from two or three different perspectives. One is, yes, I mean, I see the frustration that can bring when at a certain level, they say somebody is a youth leader, or even of a political party. And this man who is a youth leader is over 60. So if at over 60, you're still a youth leader, then what does that mean?
Imagine.
Who really is a youth? And then you go to communities and somebody who is in his late 40s and grandfather, he says a youth leader of that community. And so it gives a sense of who really is a youth. And so, but of course, there's a standard definition of who a youth is, right? And
Yes,
then,
sir.
yeah, and so you get into the same space. So I guess for me, couple, like I said, if you look at it from that perspective, then it can be very frustrating. But again, another part of it is even as those of us who see ourselves as youth, right, both in heart and by definition of the age bracket, how are we able to articulate our own issues, right? Do we even know what our own issues are and how to place it on the table? Are we talking from the perspective of growth, or are we talking from the perspective of complaints? Are we talking from the perspective of how to contribute in our own little space, or we're looking from the perspective of how we want to claim from this same national cake, right? Rather than thinking from how to build. Nigeria is such a lovely place and such a big place. Niger Delta is such a unique and wonderful place. We can look at the problems all the time, and then when you start a conversation looking at the problems, you don't see the beauty of Nigeria. And so
Very
maybe
true.
if you raise the question and say, look, as youth, as young people, as a talented person, I'm a talented artist, I'm a talented musician, I just have a knack for medicine, I have a knack for engineering, I have talent for this. How do I put that to use? How do I use what God has given to me as a talent to improve my community, rather than complain about the elders or some other person who's not giving me the opportunity? How do I make myself valuable that they come to me for solutions, rather than me asking what should be given to me? And so maybe if you start to have those kinds of mindset thinking, then it will help us manage all those things. You know, I read somewhere, actually my pastor once told me that, look, when you're faced with challenges, you can do either of two things. You can magnify the problem by talking about how big this problem is, or you can talk about how big your God is, right? So what does that mean? It means you're looking at it from the perspective of how can I solve this problem, rather than bothering yourself on how big the problem is. So if Nigeria is not a problem, if the voice that you talk about or seek to be heard is not being heard, then you reverse the question is, okay, what do I do? What can I do? And so, and that's what, when PIN started, that's what informed establishment of PIN in the very first place. I mean, in 2009, at the end of the conflict and all of the amends and what do you call it, the amnesty program, we felt, look, what else can we do? What can we do? We're not able to solve all the problems of the Niger Delta, but we can at least do our own part, put our money where our mouth is. And that's how we created this entity called PIN. So that's what I like to suggest. Rather than focus on the problem of Nigeria or the problem of the Niger Delta, let's look at it as, okay, this is the opportunity. What can I do to solve? And I can assure you, once you start to do that, you always get a coalition. You always get people who show to say, yes, I believe in this, and I'll work with you to solve these issues or problems, address some of the concerns that we do have. So those are my thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you so very much, sir. I mean, whilst you were speaking, I understand that you made reference to, you know, the fact that we don't have to just see the problem. We also need to see ourselves as the solution to the problem. And still in line with this thought, there's a saying that for you to know where you're going to, it's also nice to know where you're coming from. Now, one of the things that has brought us thus far, other than the love or the preservation of our natural resources, is our cultural heritage. One of the things we've learned as young people, I don't know about the Gen Zs, but the millennials, we learned respect. We learned how to preserve our cultural heritage. But that's fast fading in the Niger Delta, and that's bringing about a lot of copying of the Western tradition and culture, which does not have the, in quote, African's core, or let me use Niger Delta precisely, the core of respect for our core values when it comes to um, elders, even our traditions and the rest of it. Yes, the world is evolving. So, my question is, how can the preservation of our cultural heritage be integrated into our communities and its development strategies to foster a sense of identity and belonging among the youth? Because we're fast losing our tradition, the local languages are fast disappearing. Most of us on this call, we may not even know our local dialects, but we all speak English. So, how do we really integrate the preservation of our cultural heritage in order to preserve peace as well as keeping our sense of identity and belonging amongst the young people?
I mean, I hear you, and I think that's a very valid question you ask. I mean, when I was in secondary school, I was in the debating society, right? So this kind of question you asked me, I would love that time. I said, this is the question I defend my opponents to answer. You know, but now I don't have
Oh
an
my
opponent, so I have to
goodness.
answer the question. I mean, the way I see it, I mean, there are cultural values, and and you're spot on, right? You're spot on. Because if you don't understand who you are, people will tell you who you are, right? And if you don't know who you are, people will define you for
True.
yourself, define you. And then when they start to define you, sometimes you get confused, and that's sometimes what you see, because we're not deep rooted in what our values are. We don't even understand what they are, right? And so when things come in that direction, we get influenced right away. We're not even sure. So when you say you are this, is who are you really? So what are the things that drive you? And so, and again, it's not just because of the society not wanting to do that. So many factors could be responsible, right? Years before now, you were brought up by your mother, your father, your auntie, your cousins, your grandmother. So everybody, because you are all in one same family or one community. So if you misbehave, your parents didn't even have to touch you. It's your uncle or somebody in the neighborhood who will correct you. But these days, maybe it's different. So it brings me to that same element in terms of, what are those values that we should uphold? What are those things that bring about progress and love? So I show you two things, right? One
Yes,
is,
sir.
if you love your neighbor as you love yourself, and then don't do unto others what you don't wish them to do unto you. Just those two
Mm-hmm.
things, you understand, makes this world a better place. You practice it,
Yeah.
we all practice it. It doesn't matter whether you are what ethnic group or where you come from. As long as you take those two principles, those fundamental principles, and live by those principles, and we all do that, I can assure you that your society, your community will be a much better place. So when we go out and engage, what we need to tell those who engage with is, what you just did to me now, is that something you want to do unto yourself? If I did it to you, will you be okay with it? So what I don't want done to me, I shouldn't do it unto you. So
Into
that's that's
another
that's that's where
person.
I'll address your question. Thanks.
Well, thank you so very much, sir. We understand that you may need to run off, but very quickly, I want to ask quite a personal question, and this has to do with your perspective. We understand that you're already doing some amazing work when it comes to PIND. You know, we already now in our present. So looking into the future, in the next, say, 3 to 5 years from today, what do you see as the biggest challenges that may be facing our community development, maybe the young people's developmental skills, or even infrastructural development in Nigeria? And as a leader, how do you address such foreseen, let's not call them unforeseen, because we're predicting this may be the problem and these are the solutions you're preferring. So what are your proposed solutions in that regard to ensure that the young generation has a peaceful and a productive future? What are the challenges, and then what are the proposed solutions to it?
So okay, I mean the challenges. I'm sure a number of us know, and what most of those challenges are, and I'm sure if I go into listing challenges for you, we'll probably be here to about midnight, right? Because there are that many, and then if I was going to be giving you, if I was going to be giving solutions, we'll be out of here in 30 minutes, right? But it comes down
Right.
to, yeah. So it's it's this way, right? In my earlier comments, I said, do you see problems or do you see solutions? Do you see problems or do you see opportunities? And when those things come, how do you deal? How do you treat them? How do you handle them? So the stakes are stacked against you heavily. And so, but in spite of all of that, how do we view them? What can I, as a young man, growing up in a place where there's limited access to education, there's limited access to water, there's limited access to good roads, there's limited access to comfortable housing, there's limited access to even good roads. What do I do? What do I know? But maybe I have a talent. Maybe I can mobilize other people. Maybe I have a voice. I can mobilize people. So can we mobilize ourselves into something and say, look, can we provide solution to some of those things? Can we be that change agent? Or can we start to look for agencies that provide the opportunities, like PIN, for instance? And we do have a couple of programs that are targeted towards youth. I mean, we have a youth employment pathways program that is basically targeted at youth skills development in certain areas, in both in technology space, in the agri space, in fashion space, and they were working with civic centers to provide training and provide support for youth who are ready to participate in that space. We have currently have a program that we're running with Mastercard. It's called the WISE program. We're just looking at strengthening, allowing, creating the space for young women's participation. Our target is about the program looks at about 250,000 people to be engaged in
Wow.
that in that space, and about 80,000 direct employment. And guess what? We're looking at least 75% of that population being young ladies, and this is happening in the Delta. So the question is, um, as young people, let's also look for information that enables us to to take advantage of and improve ourselves. I mean, I grew up in Niger Delta. It's not too different from what it is today, but
Mm,
opportunities, and I took them. And I was clear in my head what I wanted to do in life, and one way or the other, like to say, the stars lined up to make it happen. I was deliberate. I was purposeful. I looked for the opportunities. I saw the opportunities, and I took them. And one of the things I'll share with you. This is a personal stuff or personal mindset too. Is most times I don't see problems. What I
mm,
see are opportunities,
yes, sir.
right? And so when people talk about the darkest night, I look at the silver lining. When people talk about things are difficult, I think about what is that thing that this is telling me that can happen here? What is that great? What's that? I mean, what's that great thing that will happen from this situation? So I don't look at the situation. I look at what I can do with that situation, not what the situation is doing to me.
For me. Wow. Thank you
So,
so very much for having us share in this mindset shift. It's been a wonderful journey with you. I mean, particularly the fact that we are getting to understand that we can move from hope into action. Thank you so much, Mr. Sam, for joining us tonight. Thank you. And to have yourself an amazing journey, changing the world one young person at a time. Thank you, sir.
thank you very much for having me, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
And you too, sir. Bye. All right, everybody. Whilst we're still on the session, this is the Meet the Leaders series, the Niger Delta edition, and we have been looking at peace, purpose, and productivity development for the next generation in Nigeria. We just finished listening to Mr. Sam, who has shared with us how PIND has been of impact in the Niger Delta. And he ended up by saying that we should not see problems, we should see people, and we should also see solutions. At this point, we would like to engage our sponsor and one of our partners as well, who's going to tell us one way they're also making impact in the society. It's none other than Upskillify, who is going to be telling us about the forthcoming project on digital inclusion. So if you have any desire to make a change in your life, in your mindset. Of course, the world has become technologically driven, so you can't be left out. So this is Upskillify trying their very best to make sure that you get um, interactive with tech, whether it is the AI, it is the you just name it, robots, anything that has to do with the tech space. Upskillify is coming up with a project. I want to believe they're on this call so they can just quickly join in to let us know in details what the project is about. Please the representative from Upskillify. Could we have you? And whilst he's coming up, we also have our next guest in the person of Ebenezer Winika. A lot of people refer to him as Eben. Most of you must have known him, especially with the beautiful experience of the IELTS. That was one viral moment because even I too I wanted to jump out. But if we leave the country, who's now gonna change it and make it a better place? So we also have joining us tonight, none other than Ebenezer Wikina, who is the founder of Policy Shapers and the convener of the Rivers 2050 Vision, which is particularly a 25-year development blueprint for Rivers State. But before he comes on board to talk to us about this, can we call on the representative of Upskillify, a tech organization or a tech startup, to tell us about their project? Well, I think Upskillify is still getting ready to join in. Perhaps they have some issues with their network. So we would have them come in later in the series. Well, just like I mentioned earlier, we're looking at the Niger Delta, our challenges, the way forward. Like Mr. Summers said, we should not just see problems, we should see solutions, and of course, seeing ourselves as the start off point for that solution. To take us further into tonight's session, we are going to be calling on Ebenezer Wikina. He's going to be talking to us on a very interesting subtopic. And before he comes on board, I'd like to just let us know a little about Ebenezer Wikina. He is the founder of Policy Shapers, and like I said earlier, the convener of the Rivers 2050 Vision, which is a 25-year plan, developmental blueprint for Rivers State in particular. He has been a grassroots activist from 36 countries and across 5 continents. You know, he has also been a member of the Global Shapers community, which is the community hosting this event tonight. To tell you how enthusiastic he is about change, he had to call out, several people who were making it difficult for Nigerians to make their way into different parts of the world. I'm talking about the Reform IELTS campaign, where he mobilized over 80,000 supporters to cause the US, the UK, and Canada to change their policies when it comes to the IELTS exams. Other than that, he has done many strategic works at change.org. He's also an independent, I want to believe that's also correct, an independent journalist at HuffPost. Please pardon me if I'm missing something. He's also a senior judge of the Queen's Commonwealth Essay Competition. So when it comes to writing, very enthusiastic. Among other things, he has received awards and recognition. Pardon me, but I have to celebrate a young person like me who's making wave in not just the Niger Delta, but in the world at large. He is an alumnus of the London School of Journalism and Harvard Kennedy School. Without much ado, with this accolades, I am just super excited to have you come on board. Please unmute your mic. I can't hold it anymore. Please unmute your
I
mic.
was I
Get
was
to
almost
meet you.
I was almost on muting and stopping. But thank you. Thank you so much for the very kind introduction. And I
Welcome, 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 welcome on board. It's nice to see you, especially after the
same here.
wedding and new life.
Same here.
Married
Same here.
life, but you're still young at heart. After all, Mr. Sam said he's 30 years at heart, so we can understand that. So, Mr. Ebenezer is going to be talking to us on a very important topic. It's not just about talking the talk; it's about working the talk. So he's going to be addressing policy implementation, accountability, and impact in a way that repositions the Niger Delta. So this is about implementation. Mr. Ebenezer Winika, please, we're on board your flights. Take us off.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for this huge privilege. Thanks to Andrew for the amazing work he's doing as community champion. While I was just listening to the introduction, I was just thinking that about 10 years ago, when the Port Harcourt Hub was founded by Mrs. Gogo and I don't think we could have imagined that, in 10 years' time, we have so many amazing shapers and so many young people across the region. I think at the time we only had 3 hubs in the south, in addition, of course, to Lagos, Abuja, Kano, and Co. But like just seeing all the amazing work that's been happening and seeing 6 hubs come together to actually put together an event, I think that's really, really inspiring. So shout out to you guys and shout out to the amazing work that all the curators are doing across these amazing hubs. Shout out as well to Mr. Daibo. I know he's left, but in addition to being a Global Shaper alum, I'm also a pinned alum as well.
Yes.
I was at Pin for 5 years. So it's really amazing to see how much amazing work is happening there at Pin, and how Pin had become like a hub for the Global Shapers too as well, right? Most of the and activities that we've done back when the hub was founded, and I think even up until today, Pin continues to be a great space for that kind of co-creation and support. So that's really, really great to see as well. So just because of our time, just thinking around policy implementation, right? I think that as Andrew said in the introduction, as global shapers, we have we have a mandate to change the world around us, the community around us, right? Where we find ourselves, where our hubs are located. And I think that it's really amazing to see all of the kind of projects that we've been doing. But over time, work has revealed that if you really want to make change that would last and stand the test of time, there needs to be a policy angle to the change that you're making, right? So if a good example is if you notice in your community that kids don't have books, you could do two things, right? Maybe the school in your community doesn't have books. You could fundraise and buy books for the kids in that school that you see, which is not bad. That's not a bad thing. You solve an immediate problem. Or you could take stock of all the other schools around that area. Perhaps, maybe, they also might have the same challenge. And a policy-ish solution could then be for you to engage the Ministry of Education in the States and find out why they don't have books and see if there's a solution that you can maybe engage from a more policy perspective to ensure that perhaps the books are there, but it's not just like disbursed to the schools, right? So ensuring that maybe the books get disbursed at the right time and the right people also have access to them. That would then be a policy solution, right? So when you think of policy solutions, you're thinking more from a sustainability angle. How do you solve a problem?
Yes.
That the solution lasts the test of time beyond just the solution that is enough. And that's something that we learn as global shapers, to be able to think deep and think deeper into the kind of solutions that we bring. So that's my opening thoughts on what I think and how we can sort of like think around public policy as global shapers, and generally how we can seek those kind of like long-term sustainable solutions to challenges in our respective communities. Yeah. So I don't know if you have questions or how you want us to play this around, but let me know.
Of course, I know there are many people who are itching to ask you questions. I know that I, for one, I have had questions. The IELTS, I was at the verge of writing And when I got to see the whole drama, especially, in fact, I had a client then. I was working with an immigrations um, organization who
Yeah.
more helping people jackpot. And there's this client of ours that he did everything, papers were completed, proof of funds, and he had written it. And they're telling him, I think there's a non-refund policy or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I have done everything, and you're telling me I'm not getting this admission. You would have told me from the start, especially now that you've collected my money, you're telling me you can't refund it, you can't give me the admission. Why would that be? So it really caused a lot of rancor. It caused a lot of, in fact, at a point, permit me, I had a disdain for the country of Canada because I saw it that yes, I
And
didn't
we have shapers from Canada, so we cannot afford to
exactly.
hate on them.
Well, it made me, I did not like Canada the way I used to want to go
Yeah,
to Canada, right?
yeah. I get you. Don't
Because
mind.
I felt they just wanted to take our monies and not give us the
Yeah.
admission. So that's been a great part of it. And I see that one of the key things you used was social media,
Mm,
because
yeah.
without social media it wouldn't have been possible. So I'm quite interested
Mm,
how social media, because right now in our communities people use social media for the wrong reasons, and
mm,
more often than not, whenever, especially in Nigeria, whenever young people are trying to get towards achieving something, there's
mm,
just some level of distraction that
mm.
takes our mind off it.
That
So
brings up. Yeah.
how can social media campaigns be strategically used to advocate this policy changes? I mean, look at NSAS, for
Mm,
example, just
mm,
5 years ago that happened, and the memories are still fresh. So, how
mm.
can we use this to advocate for this policy changes that would address the
Yeah.
systemic inequalities that are hindering our development intellectually, and the nation is not being built? I mean, we're experiencing a lot of stagnancy and young people are
Yeah.
giving up. So how can we use social media to that effect?
Yeah, yeah, no, thanks. Thanks for the question. And yeah, I mean, people often ask about the Reform Mayors campaign a lot because that's one of the interesting projects that I got
That's
to
the
work
viral one, even is not
between
so
yeah, between 2020
controversial.
and 2022. But I mean, I've worked over the past 3 years plus. I've worked on quite a number of other interesting projects, things like reducing the cost of removing taxes on menstrual products. In Nigeria, issues around education and education funding and stuff like that. But I think that with the IELTS campaign, and I think this connects to what Mr. Daibo said earlier, how many things that you can see that have changed in our region in the south have been because someone just got upset and said something must change, right?
Yes,
And I
true.
think and I feel that's the connection. That's the same instance for the IELTS campaign as well. It was me just upset. I think it was during COVID. I had applied for a business program to an American university. Um,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to just like take a business program, and just like your clients, they had paid for everything and all, and then towards the end they're like, oh, by the way, you you have to write an English test. Meanwhile we've been communicating in English.
And English is our
Long
primary language.
Yes, exactly. It is
Why are you
official,
writing this?
official and primary language. Yes. So, and I also noticed that this wasn't an issue that concerned just us in Nigeria as well. It affected Kenyans and Ghanaians and Ugandans and basically all the African countries who were colonized by the British. But yeah, long story short, yeah, I was angry about that one university and spoke out against that. And many people who were equally angry joined me back then in February 2020. And yeah, 5 years ago, just talking about it, tagging them, and the regular way of just putting public pressure. I think that's made that first university change their policy. And I think once they changed their policy, it became a domino effect, right? It made us see
True.
that. I was like, oh, hold on. So if one can change, it means many more can change, right? So
Yes.
that's like sparked the domino effect. Then we started the campaign, had a petition, mobilized people, had representatives in universities, Nigerians and Ghanaians and Kenyans and who are studying in various universities. Leverage so many communities like the Global Shapers community as well, of people who are in these various institutions, and they then became the people who advocated for this particular policy change. And I think the thing about using social media to cause change, right? It's happening in real time, because if you look at countries like Nepal, Morocco, Madagascar, if you've been following the news, you'll see that many young people, the Gen Z especially, have been using these social media platforms, including things like Signal and Discord and Co, to organize themselves and lead national protests, basically similar to what we did during NSAS. So I think it's first of all, acknowledging that there's power with technology to amplify our voices, and that even though it does feel like sometimes you only get one like and 2 likes, the things that you say have power, and if you're able to use the right tools and the right techniques, you would be able to reach a broad audience. And sometimes someone is just waiting for you to just say something about that thing. Other people are experiencing it too, but sometimes they're just quiet about it, and someone's just waiting for someone to say something. And you just talking about it might be the spark that is needed, to sort of fuel the fire of change on that particular issue. So I believe it's a really powerful tool, and I think the Global Shapers community uses social media really well as well. It's posting projects, the way the community is branded, sharing opportunities and stuff like that. I think that's a really powerful way. Let's continue to allow the shapers to use our hub accounts as a way to also tell their own stories as well, because shapers are doing some incredible things, right? The hub is cool because the shapers are cool. So let's just ensure that we continue to give shapers that space to be able to continue to tell their stories. Yeah, I think that's a powerful way to leverage social media.
Well, thank you so very much. One of the key things that encouraged me to join the Global Shapers, I remember when I think I was undergoing my interview and they asked me what was the change I wanted to make. My major concern was the budget.
Yeah.
We never get to see it. Let me go screen.
Sorry.
We never get to see the budget, and we just know that money has passed hands, and we just hear that projects were done, even if they were not done to our knowing. So it becomes quite discouraging for young people like I, because we don't even know what was allocated to us. We don't know what was used.
Yeah, and just to sorry to cut you, I think that's still a big issue for us in the South. Most Niger Delta states still do not release their budgets. Most state governments, the budget process, for example, is meant to have started now, the next year's budget, so that by November-ish, there's clarification on it and everything, so that by January, they can begin to spend. But what often happens is that there's a fire brigade process where they don't wait till the end of the year and they just rush through in January and just approve something really quickly without consultation, and then begin to spend. So that could be a project idea for the 6 hubs, actually. I think that we need more transparency in the budget process. Yeah, in the budget process across the South region. 6 hubs, across the Niger Delta region, we need to think more deeply about how we can open up that space and ensure that more young people know more about public accountability as it relates to our public resources and our finances. So I just wanted to just say that that's still a problem. It hasn't.
It is.
Yeah.
So based on that problem, now how can young people be encouraged to actively participate in the political process that can contribute to the innovation, something like this? Because the idea I had, so let me share, was to have this the same way we can access our laws online. We could have, pardon me.
Sorry.
We could have the budget also displayed, and we know when something has been done. We know who has done it and how long it's taken. So we know who to hold responsible. But this is not the case. So how do we get young people to actively participate?
Yeah. I know that like the Global Shapers community doesn't, because we're non-partisan, right? We don't participate in the political process, in the fact that we're not engaged in politics, but I think we can be fully engaged in governance. And there's so many hubs across the world that have done so many governance projects. And I think the example I just gave of the 6 hubs, for example, advocating for increase or publication of the 2026 budget, for example, um, by January, on or before January, as a project. So for example, the Warri Hub takes Delta states, Calabar Hub takes Cross River, Port Harcourt Hub takes Rivers, etc., and then engages the Ministry of Finance. Usually, where you start that engagement from would be the Ministry of Budget and Planning. That's across all of the states. The Ministry of Budget and Planning usually is the coordinating ministry most times, for like budgeting and planning processes across the various civil service arms. So that would be a good place to start. So maybe a decision maker meeting / meet the leader ish kind of thing with the Commissioner for Budget and Planning in those states could be a good first step, because first you want to approach them kindly, right? You don't want to first go screaming at them. So maybe like a first meeting ish thing would be a good first step. And then during the meeting, we could then like share thoughts as to where we think young people need to know and have more visibility into what's happening with the budget, and also with the process too. Not just like seeing the budget, but being part of the process that leads to the budget. Because there's a process. There's supposed to be a process with consultations in various communities, consultations as to like what should the state spend on for the next 1 year, what have happened with the performance of the budget previously, and what should this one look like. So there should be like an entire process around it. And I think young people need to be engaged more in that particular process. So I think that's a good first place to start. And then by the time you meet, and then there's media about it that the Global Shapers has met, with the Commissioner for XYZ, that puts pressure on them, because I mean they want to look good, right? So that's a good first place. And I think once we begin to get more access and more insight into the process, perhaps the 6 hubs could then say, okay, we want to build a budget platform. Maybe that's something we do in the next 8 months, and we then have all of the. Can you hear me? Okay, and then say we then want to have all of the budgets across the states for the 6 states on that platform, giving more young people a chance to engage. So I think that's really, really key. Andrea has actually made a very good point, just talking about how like civic engagement is quite key in the shape and the election. Yeah, so I think that's a good space to start thinking about that, and I agree with you that it's a problem that has lasted for a very long time.
A very long time, I tell you. If not forever, since Nigeria started.
If not forever, to be honest. Some states got it right at some point, then stopped. So there are some states that used to release their budget and have like CSO, civil society town halls where the government will actually and stuff, but many states have stopped that now. So I think that's the role that we can play as global shapers, actually ensuring that there's that streamlined process. We could also consider an organization like the Open Government Partnership as a potential partner on this. There's a national office in Abuja that can sort of like give us the resources and tools that we need to do this. For example, and I'm sure there's so many global shapers who are working on OGP work across the hubs. So we could reach out to TopLink, ask for lessons and stuff from people who have done similar stuff. But I think that's it came out of the blues, but I think this could be a good civic engagement. Thanks to Deborah's thoughts that we could.
Oh my goodness! In fact, that one question I would ask is, how do you intend to do that, knowing how bureaucratic Nigeria is, particularly River State? By then, we're not even got into the saga, and I can't even remember all the things I said, but I know I penned it down. I thought about it, and giving me concerns, and wow. Let's see, we'll get it right eventually. I think I would like to encourage everyone on the call. If you have questions, please do well to drop them on the private chat. We already have some questions here. I'll just read it out to you. It says, there will always be divergent views to policies for community or national development. The question now is, how do we, in quote, find the balance between how do we find the balance between managing receptors as well as critics or stark opposers? So how
Yeah,
do we find a balance managing receptors as well
yeah,
as critics or
yeah,
stark opposers?
yeah. You would, I mean, if everybody agrees with something, you should be worried about it because it means that everyone is blind to something. There's no perfect idea. I think that's one thing. That's the beauty of democracy. Democracy allows for um, divergent voices. You want a situation where everyone and people wouldn't see things always the same way at every given time, right? People might be against something, and then in 2 months they're in support of something. People will be in support of something, and then in two days they are against it, right? So I think it's just about being being open to be able to receive those ideas, being open to ensure that the discussions that are coming up because of the disagreement is about the idea itself. It's about like, what's the problem? How do we solve it? Why don't you agree? Why do I think this way and why do you think this way? And I think if you look at even our values as global shapers, there are things like collaboration and integrity and all of those kind of things, which basically speak more to how we can ensure that we don't it doesn't be as leaders, it doesn't become personal. If someone says that they don't like an idea, you don't take it personal, right? You find out why. You basically find out why and try to figure out, like, is the person really, if the person is right, if they're right, then maybe shift ground a bit as opposed to standing firm to your ground and saying, no, I don't really care, even if it's wrong.
Compromise, yes.
I'm still, yeah. So there's that healthy compromise, right? So I think it's fine. I mean, democracy will always be that. And I think we should encourage that, even as global shapers. We should encourage, in our meetings, in our conversations, we should encourage people, having opposing thoughts and ideas and debating on the value of that. I think one of the strongest democracies in the world is the UK democracy. And every week, the prime minister goes to parliament and the opposition party basically shreds everything that the prime minister has done for the past week, just like questioning and poking holes in everything. And that is done every Thursday on national television for like 2 hours. Every week. I'm not even sure some people will have the strength to stand that, but they do it
Not in
every week.
Nigeria.
Yes,
Not
every
in
week,
Nigeria.
consistently. So that's the beauty of the democracy. You need to be able to have so that like the aim and the goal should be that we have these divergent ideas because we want this thing to work. So we
Sure.
think it can work this way and you think it can work this way, and then we figure out what the best way is. But when we try to like shut down opposition and shut down which is what we're seeing in Nigeria now, shut down things like protests, closing the civic space, that's not a sign of a healthy democracy because it means that you don't want you want only people that like you to keep praise-singing you.
Yes,
that's
yes,
not how it
man.
works. You're not. It's not praise and worship. People shouldn't just be singing and praising you all the time. You need to also have those who would question the things you do so that you can also refine your ideas better. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Wow. One of the major issues in the Niger Delta is
Yeah.
climate change. We have
Yes.
seen the fire at some point that it was causing black soot. It was
Yes.
everywhere. In fact, that period of time, I intentionally refused to wear white because I go out with white, I come back with ash. So I had to hold on because of what the environment had turned out to be. Now, prior to that time, I know that we had laws. We had sanitation, Zibriwama they call it now. That's for River State alone. We had environmental laws here and there. But the issue we kept having was the implementation.
Yeah.
Because whenever we see laws, it's more like just talk. And at the end of the day, we hear committees are formed. And then next thing, there's a report from the committee. We don't see these people come to our vicinity to do these changes or even track whatever it is. So are there ways that we can carry out projects Because I remember at that point we tried to collaborate with the Ministry of Environment. We tried to make collaborations with other organizations, and it wasn't working. So
Yeah.
what are the ways where community development projects can really be designed? Maybe it wasn't attractive to the government,
Mm.
right? How can we now better design this project or this solutions so that, number one, the government doesn't steal it and takes it as their idea,
Mm.
whilst it's just dumps off somewhere? Because I had an encounter with someone who came up with an idea of
Mm.
recycling and upcycling waste. And he
Yeah.
made a proposition to the government. What we see now as the plastic, Abuki picks up plastic, the upcycle it to something else, and it. So someone already had that idea and presented it to the government.
Yeah.
And the said official at that time just looked at it, okay, don't worry, we'll look at it, and then
And then
you can go
yeah,
back
yeah,
into it.
yeah.
And the next thing, the man is
Yeah.
seeing it that is a proposal from this so named personnel. So how do we better tailor it? Is it that we need to trademark it? I don't know if the lawyers here. Do we need to trademark it, copyright it? What do we do?
Mm.
Because the person who will better understand the solution is the person proposing the solution,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
how do we now package these solutions to the
Yes.
government,
I
protecting
think,
our interests
yeah,
and also
yeah.
preserving sustainability?
Sustainability as well. Yeah. I mean, first thing, I mean, shout out to the Port Harcourt Hub, because I think during the suit, Port Harcourt Hub was really engaged. I think it's either I was curator then or I was leaving as curator at the time. And I think in addition to like being part of the civil society organizations that advocated strongly like for government to do something about the suits, we also
Mm-hmm.
engaged internationally. So we leveraged the WEF platform to
Yes.
engage the UN environment in Kenya. Their office was in Kenya then. And so while all of this was going on in Port Harcourt locally, we were engaging internationally and then got to the UN. Eventually, they came down to do their assessment and produced a report, which sadly the state government refused to release at the time. But actually, eventually, everything fell into the fact that the governor then had an illegal mining law, which was announced in River State with an executive order. And then, yes, there was that thing where the LGA chairman were then given a task to then go shut down all the illegal mines. And that's actually why you've had a sort of like a reduction in how much
Mm-hmm.
suits we have in the environment. So again, so that's an example of again another way of like to engage in a policy way. I'm also not too worried about government stealing your ideas, especially if it's not a commercial idea. If it's a commercial idea, then it's a challenge. Like for example, recycling stuff that can feel sad because yeah, that's a wrong thing.
It
But
sure
when it's
can.
when it's a community development related idea that doesn't really have a profit thing related to it, let them steal it. Like be happy that they steal it because it's usually very tough to make them to move to do anything. So if the idea is so good that they actually want to steal it, let them steal it. As far as
Mm-hmm.
they do it, let them actually do it. Don't worry too much about the credits. It will eventually come to you. Make sure that you have records of your conversations and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. You definitely get your credits. But if you can convince government enough for them to want to steal something from you that will help people, you're actually a genius, actually, to be honest. So don't be worried about that at all. That's I just wanted to say that. But yeah,
Right.
just some of the ways people have done ways to protect their ideas might be, and I suppose engaging government as individuals, maybe engaging as a consortium or like a group. So just like hubs now, if you engage only as Port Harcourt Hub or as Warri Hub or Calabar Hub, it's different than if you engage as the Niger Delta hubs. That has more weight. You're dealing with a lot more
Yeah.
people and hundreds of shapers, right? So that's a much more. So sometimes people come together as a collective and go engage with government so that they are more protected and so that their ideas are more protected. So that could be something you consider as well when you're thinking about engaging governments. Yeah, having records of everything. Like I remember we used to
Mm-hmm.
force at the time to like check their emails. We'd be like, we sent you an email. We'd be like, print it out. We'd be like, no, we sent an email.
Read it.
Print to that, we say we sent an email. Like, should we help you open your email now? You know, and that was a waste. So let's be like, no, we're like destroying trees and stuff like that, using like excuses to force them to ensure that there's a paper trail, right? Because emails, I mean, you reply. There's a trail of conversation. It's important to keep those kind of things as well. Your engagements with government. So yeah, so those are just like two ideas that came up in my head. But I think just think about this as what's the best way to get them to move, and what's the best way to make yourself protected as well while you're engaging, so that you're not at risk as you have to engage with government. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to dwell a bit on accountability. I heard a story over the week or last month. A friend of mine was saying he, in quote, received an SMS or, information that they could be giving grants and needed to submit their details and all. And he did. He got the said grant. I think that was about COVID period or so. And then fast forward into last year, he starts getting debit alerts from his accounts, and he reaches out to the said organization or the said office of the president that gave this said grant to him.
The grant, yeah.
Said they never gave any grants. That it was a loan that was taken in his name, and it was from a microfinance bank. Yes, so this is where it gets tricky, and that's why I want to come towards accountability. The said people who got their details were not to be found. So they went to the bank. This set of people acting on behalf of the government went to this bank, took loans on behalf of these individuals, and the individuals now had to pay plus interest. In fact, by the time he got to the bank and they showed him he was supposed to pay so amount and the interest was due, let's say the grant they gave him was 20,000 naira, he's now ending up paying 1.2 million.
What? That's ridiculous.
And the funny thing is, these people were nowhere to be found, even when they had acted on behalf of the government. Accountability. No one has been held accountable. Now, the individuals, he's not just the only one. There were thousands of people who received this. And now, sometimes we receive messages from MTN, Globalcom, and all that about do certain things, even Happy Independence Day, and you never get airtime from them. That's how come this people who have custody of our data
are not taking? That's a good question.
When things go wrong, there is no one to be held accountable, and it creates a negative impact on us, because to the international world, a lot of Nigerians are seen as fraudulent fraudsters. And one of the things that are causing this is somebody like this now, who has taken the glorious 20,000 naira provided to him by the government, now ends up paying 1.2 million naira as a loan. It's not nice at all. What ways can we really build accountability systems such that both the government is responsible to the citizenry and the citizens are also accountable to the government? Because as it stands now, the citizens are more accountable to the government than the government
accountable to us. Yes, true. I mean, very, very well said. I think it's really sad that your friend had to go through that. Can you hear me? Is it just me? Okay, lost Deborah. Hi, Deborah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Crystal.
Okay. Yeah. So I was like, it's really sad that your friend had to go through that. I think that's really terrible, and I think that's where knowledge is also power for us as shapers. Now, when when I think of a shaper, I think of someone who is globally connected and internationally aware, but also locally smart as well, right? So that you're also you're not just aware of everything happening globally, but you also know of the things happening within your own country as well.
True.
So that if there are laws and relationships and connections that you need to like make certain things happen, you're also able to do that. So I think of a global shaper as someone who's really agile. Now there's a Nigeria Data Protection Act that was signed in 2023 that actually gives a lot of power to people whose data have been compromised. So if you start to receive all of these unwanted messages like, oh, there's a job for you somewhere, etc, etc, etc. Oh, there's something for you somewhere, like all of those weird messages that you often get from.
Yes. I wonder how those people get our contacts.
It's actually because
I
most of our data had
in
been
NND,
mishandled.
and there's a job posting.
Yeah, most of our data has been mishandled, right? And a lot of it, of course, ties back to the Nigerian Communications Commission and Ministry of Digital Economy and stuff like that. But I think a lot of it also is just like how we treat data, even if it's just like a survey that you collect, right? And you tell people, put your name, put your email, put your phone number. There's actually a way you're supposed to treat that kind of data. So as a hub, you shouldn't just like have that documents easy for anybody to access. The act specifies how you handle data and how the government itself should also handle data, such that you can even take the government to court. Now, we will win the government in court. It's another conversation because our democracy is still at an infancy. So that's a different conversation, right? But it sort of gives you the guidelines on how data should be handled within the country. So I think that, yes, I think that bank, first of all, should definitely first of all, repay all of the kind of money that is taken from that person. If the person is able to get legal representation, with the Data Protection Act, Nigerian Data Protection Act, that's what it's called, 2023, you'll be able to get a lot of protection for how your data is used. Because nobody should be able to get a loan. Like a loan needs several levels of approval for something to be gotten, right? No one should be able to get a loan on your behalf. Like you should be able to get a loan yourself. So so that's, I feel like that bank, with the media and everything, definitely would have been able to get that bank to pay back everything that I had gotten from that person. But it's important that we are also really aware of the laws, the policies, things that guide us in our respective states and also in our country, even as we are internationally connected as shapers, so that when these kind of things happen, where we know what to fall back to as our safeguard as individuals. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you so very much. We do have a question in the chat.
Sure.
This person is asking, especially the fact that you mentioned that even if we're not politically engaging, we are policy interactive. So as a young person, is political office necessary to push for national or state level policies, whether change, implementation, accountability? Is it necessary for us to go beyond just
being
the
artists?
NGO, which is us kind of interaction, to the political field to do these things?
Yeah. So the way I like to answer this question is that, first of all, let's understand that even though the reverse is the case for us in Nigeria, the most important office actually in a democracy is the office of the citizen. That's the most important office. That's supposed to be the most powerful office, right? The office that we all occupy, because the idea of having a political office holder, and I think Mr. Daibo mentioned this, that people should be leaders, not their God positions, right? Is that you're a servant to the people, right? You're there and you're accountable for everything that you do to the people. It's more stressful to be a leader than it is to be a follower, right? So if we're practicing leadership the way it's supposed to be, public leadership the way it's supposed to be, we'll have less and less people trying to be governors and stuff like that. Because it's supposed to be a lot of work and scrutiny.
Work, yes, and not an attractive.
It's supposed to be so stressful. People should be saying, no, I don't want to be, but because it's the other way around. That's why. But to your question on if we should, as global shapers, do that, I remember like when I attended WEF events, I was at the World Economic Forum on Africa in Cape Town. I'd also done what we used to call at the time the annual curators meeting. I think now it's called Global Shapers Summit. And I've met shapers actually who, I think one of the shapers that I met at the time was either an advisor to a mayor, or a mayor in their own city, right?
Wow.
So we've had global shapers who also had either run for public office or are in public office, and I don't think the community frowns against it as far as you don't use the community's logo or all those kind of things for your political campaign and don't
Yeah.
put the community at risk, and the community's brand at risk. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a global shaper from the Warri hub being the Speaker of the House of Assembly in Delta.
That would be amazing, though.
Wouldn't that be better? So that you have someone who is intellectually sound and
Yeah.
is globally connected, so that they can give the state the kind of support and connections and thinking that is needed for our public life. That would be great. So I don't think there's anything stopping us. Actually, I encourage you actually to, if you can, you should actually. And I think for us in the south and in the southeast and Niger Delta region, I think it's key for us that we have more young people taking up that space. A lot of this space has been left for I don't have politically right words, but yeah, I mean that space has been bastardized. So let's ensure that we have people like you and people like me, getting into that space and being more active. Let's not see it as more important than what we're doing as citizens, but it's an opportunity to be able to go serve and to be able to actually redefine what it means to be a leader. And I feel like the Global Shapers community trains you on leadership. I mean, if you're not leading the hub, you're leading so many things, right? And I think that's training on leadership. I mean, Andrew mentioned the Accenture program earlier. All of those things I think should not waste. They could be useful to our respective states and communities. So yeah, let's get involved. It doesn't have to be governor and House of Assembly. It could be councillor. It could be local government chairperson. Let's think of all of these platforms as ways to engage. Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much. I have another pertinent question, and this question has to do with the brain drain in Nigeria. It's becoming a huge problem in Nigeria. We're looking at young people losing hope in the country, in the Niger Delta. We're seeing a lot of people giving up on the economy and leaving. In fact, that was just earlier this year and last year, the Japa syndrome, that's the word that came, to be. How can, or rather in closing, what's your advice to the young ones who are still left in Nigeria, especially those that still hold a flicker of hope for the Nigeria country of ours? What is that one word you can give us hope, reassurance to the Nigerians, young people exactly? Because they'll be telling us we're the future of tomorrow, we're the leaders of tomorrow, and even in the future and the next week, we are still not leading. So what is that one word of encouragement you can give to the young people who are dealing with this brain drain in Nigeria to just keep holding on?
It's tough for me to encourage you, trust me, because I think that it's really a personal decision because of the kind of unique challenges that we face as a country. I think it's a personal decision, right? Before now, I used to be team, come on, let's not go anywhere, stay here, etc. and stuff like that. But I think over the years,
oh my goodness,
I've seen that people will make certain decisions for themselves based on where they are at certain times. And I mean, if you've also seen the trend, there are people who are actually coming back. There's Japa that happening. People are actually coming back to the country.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much as those who are leaving, but like people are making decisions to actually come back despite staying there for a couple of years. So I feel that's a decision that you make for yourself. I can tell you why I think your decision to stay is not a waste, and I think that's
Really?
the it's shown in all of the things that we do, right? All of the work that we're doing as individuals, whether it's you have a business or you're working in an organization, the work that we're
Mm-hmm.
doing in hubs, the work that you're seeing society organizations do, the fact that there could have been a coup, a couple of weeks ago, and it didn't happen and stuff like that. I feel it's all because there's still people who believe in the country, right?
Yes.
That's hope and belief. I think is something that first of all comes from inside, but also
Mm-hmm.
would come because you see other people. If they say iron sharpens iron in the Bible, right?
True.
It comes from me also seeing how other people are really committed to what they're doing. So
Yes.
I'm not here to say go stay, but I'll tell you that if you actually decide to stay in Nigeria and fight and commit to this country, I think we can make a lot of change. It might feel really slow. It would feel
It's slower
daunting.
than the snail journey.
Yes, it would feel daunting. It would feel like
Yeah.
you're not progressing with your life, and sometimes you ask yourself if you're crazy, what am I really doing here when I have friends who are
What are
doing
we
something
doing here? It's true.
right? But personal decision, purpose as well. I think Mr. Daibo mentioned purpose earlier. Purpose is
Progress,
quite,
yes.
and purpose usually also has its own. There's certain work you can do in Nigeria that you can't do in France, for example, or in Germany, right?
Mm.
So if you have a purpose to do a certain kind of thing at a certain kind of time,
Yes.
where should you be at that time? Sometimes you might need to go and come back. Sometimes you might need to go for a longer time. But it depends on each person's personal position of where you are, and also what really your purpose is. What is really fueling you? What is driving you? I mean, there's a second level brain drain of people leaving the Niger Delta region to places like Lagos and Abuja. I'm like,
Yes, and places become very congested.
yes,
Oh, God.
I've worked here for such a long time, 15 years now, and I've often had people like whenever I have to go for like meetings and stuff in Lagos and Abuja, had people say, "Why don't you want to move from Port Harcourt, Ben?"
Yeah.
And then I sit them down and give them a long lecture. I'm like, "Are you ready for this lecture?" And I give them a long lecture on why my work is tied here and the purpose and the reason for my work and the impact that I'm seeing in my work. And the fact that because the world is a global village now, it really doesn't matter where you are physically because you can still make change
True.
globally, right?
Definitely.
So I mean, sorry, I'm not giving you a kind of answer that you want, but I'm like, I think it's a personal decision that you have to make for yourself because that fire is something that will have to burn from inside. But it also helps when you're with a community of people who also are as passionate as you, and that's why the Global Shippers Club is cool, so that you can fuel each other, right? Support each other, bond together. When you're burning low, you come from
Another
hub meetings and
person.
people all excited about stuff, and then it just excites you all over again, and you want to do stuff. So yeah, so I feel that's the answer. If you do decide to stay, there's so much we can change. There's so much
Yeah.
we can do in our respective states. The Niger Delta is living way below its potential. If you look at places like, I don't know if you guys have met shippers from Qatar and Dubai and all of these places, we're living way below our potential as a region. There's so much we can do. As individuals, we should contribute to our states a lot more. And I hope that we can put our hands together to make the region a place where we can sort of like be happy to pass down to our own kids. The future shapers and the Gen X and Gen Beta and Gen Alpha, shapers who would come in the future. They should be able to know that we actually made a mark on our respective states. So that's my closing word here.
Well, thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Ebenezer Winika. You just reiterated the quote we began tonight's session with. Helen Keller said, Alone, we can do so little, but together we can do so much. Thank you so very, very much. We had an amazing time interacting with you and getting to see that we can also be the change that we desire to see. Thank you so very much, sir. Okay, moving on now. We have talked about so many things. Mr. Sam has told us about peace and purpose. Mr. Ebenezer talked to us about policy implementation, how we can reposition the Niger Delta in our own little way. So there's a group of people that are already on course trying to reposition the Niger Delta, and to do this by helping us become tech active. And this is no other but the Upskillify. Yes, I believe they're here now. Upskillify. They have an upcoming project where they're going to help us develop new skills to help us be relevant both in the local and international space. It's nice to have you. We have a representative from Upskillify. Please, can we get to meet you? A lot of people don't know what Upskillify means. So please, let's get to meet you and then tell us a little about what you do. Then you move into your projects. Over to you.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Kindly confirm you can hear me, please.
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you so very much for this gracious opportunity. Global Shapers is really a privilege and an honor to be here. I am grateful. I want to say thank you to the speakers that has shared those insightful messages. Thank you also, Dean Deborah. Before I start, there's something that Mr. Ebenezer said that I took down, and that's going to be my driving force moving on, which is be globally connected, be internationally aware, and be locally smart. I'm going to quote it everywhere, and I'm going to tag him even today and tomorrow.
You're
I say
receiving
this because I say this because this is the driving force behind Upskillify. Upskillify is an edtech platform that is here to empower Africa with the right skill sets, community, to drive them and place them on a global stage. Our vision is to empower talent and to drive growth. And how do we intend doing this? To present our youths and young adults with in-demand digital skills. And it doesn't stop there. We help them create their portfolio, give them, sorry, can you hear me? I got disconnected for a minute. All right, I'm back online.
Yeah, yeah.
Give them internship placements and set them up in their respective careers.
Wow.
So far, we've been able to do this by having collaborations with two companies in Ghana, Ideation Aziz Group and MBA affiliates. What is this collaboration about? This collaboration is to, what we do is we are training over 200 young adults in Nigeria presently in various digital skills from web development, product management, UI UX design, and a couple others. Now, these companies that we've collaborated with are going to be giving slots, 5 to 10 slots each, to some persons to kickstart their tech career. So we don't just want to be another edtech platform where you will learn about the skill sets, where you get to learn about graphics design, web development, or the likes. We are interested in your growth. You can say that we are your growth partner. While you learn these things on our platforms, we provide you with the opportunity to kickstart your career. That is what Upskillify is about. And we cannot do this alone. Collaboration is the key word. So I'm so grateful to be on this platform to share what we are running at the moment with the Global Shapers community. And very soon, we would have much more greater and bigger projects that will include the whole of Niger Delta as a whole. Thank you so much, Dean, for this opportunity.
Thank you so very much. We didn't get to fully hear your name again. If it's okay, you could let us know your
Oh,
name.
my name is Favor Koji. I am the founder of Obscurify. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Favor Okoje. Your name sounds very unique. You brought favor to the Global Shapers community. Thank you so very much. I'm particularly grateful to the fact that you are not just helping them to gain the skills, you're going to grow with them and make sure that they attain new heights. So the fact that you're managing the journey is a good one. So that means you'll have mentorship, correct? Mr. Favor, can you hear me?
Sorry, I didn't get that
Does it
part.
mean you would have mentorship?
Yes, yes,
I was
yes,
asking
yes,
to confirm
yes, yes,
mentorship.
yes.
Okay, so that would be virtual and on-site, correct?
Just virtual at the moment. Hello, can you hear me, please?
Pardon? I wanted to know, like a lot of people may have questions. Is it going to be a mentorship program, or is it just going to be an on-site or online virtual program? Let's get to know so people
Virtual program.
would, understand better. And how can people contact you? Mentorship.
Okay, to answer that, it is a virtual program. Yes, and presently our website is upskillfy.com,
Okay, so
www.upskillfy.com.
be a mentorship program to how can people and the listeners connect with you outside this space to ensure that they're part of this email? How can people contact you for particular
Dean, can you hear me,
I
please?
want to believe you have
Hello, Deborah.
Favor's network is a bit, I think the network is quite dramatic. I was confirming from you the mentorship program, right? How can people contact you to be a part of this project? Are there social media handles or any other means of
Yes,
communication?
yes, our social media handle is Upskillfy on all platforms: X, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Upskillfy.
All capital letter or small letters or total case? How do we?
Lowercase, please.
Okay, so small letters,
Yeah,
lowercase. Okay, so when is this
exactly.
due to start? Is it already running or it's due to
No,
start
no,
at
no.
time?
November 12th.
November 12th. Okay, people. So
Yes.
come the 12th of November, please do well to reach out to Upskillfy. Check them out on all social media handles to know how to progress into this project. And I'm very sure since technology is taking over the world, well, until then, we need the skills to be on top of our game. Thank you so very much, Mr. Favor Okoje. It's been nice speaking with you, and thank you for making impact in your community. Congratulations
Thank you.
once more for being a
Thank
part
you.
of
I'm
tonight's
grateful.
session.
Thank you
We're
for
most
having me.
grateful to have you. So there you have
Thank
it, everyone. It's been an amazing journey. But before we go, we would like to call on a member of the Global Shivers community hub in the person of a Desiree to please give us a closing remark and then we could close out for tonight. And please make sure that if you have questions, you could reach out to us on any of our social media handles that you may find on your screen, or you could just type Global Shapers Community on your search device or your social media, and you get to see as many hubs as are present here. Over to you, Adisiri.
Yes, it's been 2 hours straight, 2 hours straight of value. And of course, I'm pretty aware that a number of us who have joined across Nigeria and even beyond have gained a lot. Thank you so much to our moderator. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you
Thank
so much to
you.
all our speakers, Mr. Sam, Mr. Eben. Thank you, Upskill Fire. Yeah, we see you. And of course, thank you to our community champion and to all curators in the Niger Delta. Thank you so much for joining us to make this happen. And of course, to our viewers, keep tabs with us. This is not the last edition of
Definitely not.
Meet the Leader series, Niger Delta. I am so excited. I am certain you are as well. Thank you so much. It's a wrap, guys. Good night, Shapers. Good night, Nigerians. Good night, world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, in case you don't know the people that form the Niger Delta hubs, we have Warri Hub, we have Benin City Hub, we have the Port Harcourt Hub, we have, I think there's a Cross River or Calabar Hub rather, and hubs. Please do well to leave a comment in the comment section. You could engage with your hubs and know what next step will be taken in cause of creating impacts in our society. So on behalf of the Global Shapers community of the World Economic Forum, I want to say a huge thank you to each and every one of you for cruising with us on this altitude and sticking around up until now. It means we have been of value to you, intentional value to you, and we look forward to getting reports as to how you impact your society and community positively. So, on behalf of everyone, I want to close out to say good night to you all. Have a lovely evening or lovely day wherever you find it. Thank you and ciao ciao.